Hello everyone, I'm back. It's been a really long time since I made this. I look back at the last one I did and it was game week 6. So we just finished game week 11. So it's a crazy long time. I mean, I've been meaning to do one every week, but it's been pretty crazy with work and an impending move down to Cambridge. But hopefully now things are settling down a bit. I'm hoping to be able to do one of these once a week again. One of the reasons why I wanted to do one is just because I'm having an absolutely awful start to the season. I was ranked at around 50,000 game week 4. Since then, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 red arrows out of 7, and now I'm sitting 222,000 with the Fulham game in the background. So Mitrovic could burn me as I go. So what I wanted to do was not just talk about my start to the season, but just reflect back on some of the things some of the mistakes I've been making. Really, I want to try and learn from them. Hopefully, you'll get some information from it, and it might help you with future decisions and improve your rank as well. So the problems seem to really have stemmed from when I played my wildcard in game week 8. I came under a bit of stick for my wildcard. I didn't actually change that many players. I got a new goalkeeper. I switched my formation up and brought in Arnautovic, who I wanted to get kind of ahead of the curve on. I brought in Hazard and Doherty, but I could have taken a 4-point hit and got in a lot of these players and kind of stuck with what I had. In hindsight, that definitely would have been the right move. The wild card was largely to get Kane in as well, a very short-term move, which obviously, as we all know, didn't pay off. And if I'd had a bit more patience on that, then I think I'd be sitting here not only with a better rank, but also with a wild card in my pocket and a bit more hope, sort of going into the second half of the season. So that was kind of what I noticed. I've been filling up the spreadsheet every week, so you can take a look at that. The links should be attached to this email, so you can see what I've been doing. And yeah, since game week 8, it's just been a bit of a disaster, really. Probably my worst decision on the wildcard was not picking any Bournemouth players. They always frustrate me every season. There's always they'll find new ways of trolling me. Wilson is the big culprit this year. I have to admit he's just not someone I really considered at all. Same with Jimenez as well. I didn't really consider him. Both have gone on to be really good budget options. Mitrovic I've stuck with for too long. He's been failing, and Arnautovic he delivered this week, but I got on him too early. The stats were good, but with his knee injury and things, perhaps I kind of jumped the gun a bit on that as well. Wilson was in form. Bournemouth had really good fixtures. I ditched Fraser on my wildcard, so I think I should have paid a bit more attention to Bournemouth. And I think you do get this every season. We had it with Burnley last year when they were on a really good run. Everyone was getting their defenders in. I know Watford have got some really good, some good goal scoring players. And I think when you've got you're kind of gifted these teams once you don't really know who it's going to be, but you can tend to find out quite quickly who's going to go on and do well when you've got a team with the perfect storm, with fixtures and form, and particularly with strikers who are doing well when there isn't particularly that many at the moment. I think you do need to make your move and get these in. I mean, Wilson's now owned by almost 30% of the game, and he keeps scoring. And I'm looking at it now and thinking, is it too late to get him in, or how could I get him in? And I couldn't really. That was kind of shaking my team up. So I'm probably going to ignore him for now and hope that the fixtures being a bit tougher will limit him. But definitely looking at the fixture list, I'm going to pay close attention to these teams and see, if the informed teams are going to be having good fixtures on the horizon. My absolute worst decision this year, and I genuinely think the worst decision I've ever made in fantasy football, was getting rid of Sterling last week. I had a 50-50 decision to make, and I was nailing these last season. This year, it's been much more difficult. I had to get rid of either Sterling or Hazard. I didn't have much value tied up in Hazard, because I bought him quite late. Hazard had the injury, and actually Sterling's fixtures were pretty good with Spurs and then Southampton this game. And I did actually think Sterling would comfortably match him in those, but it was the ownership of Hazard which kept me on him. I do still want Hazard going forward. Came off the bench, got an assist, which is great, but I also want Sterling as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how I kind of try and fit him back into my team. I think the last few weeks have really got me thinking about this whole kind of fear, taking a risk versus fear. It's finding the balance is proving very tricky this year. It's normally been something that I've been quite good with, particularly with captains. I normally kind of mitigate the risk with the captain, go for the kind of favourite, and kind of make sort of bit differential left field picks kind of elsewhere in my team. I've not really done that this year. I've not really made any two left field picks. I feel like I'm playing the game very boring, looking at my team and things aren't exciting me very much. And this week I decided to roll the dice with a Salah captain away to Arsenal. Now the logic behind it, was quite sound. Arsenal were leaking goals. They had a patch-up defence. I thought Xhaka might be playing at left-back again. I know Kolasinac was in training, but I thought maybe he'd miss out. And the game's had goals in it historically. Salah's been back in form. Liverpool normally do quite well against these big sides, but actually it was a very open game, very exciting game. But Salah just didn't deliver. And then I had to go into Sunday, fearing the worst with Aguero with 150% effective ownership. I think he had. Every goal, every assist just really cut me like a knife. And then with Sterling as well, delivering over 20 points, it was a really tough Sunday. Probably one of the worst games I've ever kind of listened to. But yeah, I mean, you've got to find the balance between the fear and the risk. And I think, I did have my reasons for captaining Salah, but I also was seeking out the thrill a bit of a bit of a left field shout. I kind of wanted something a bit different, something to kind of talk about on the scout cast, something to, something just, if it had paid off, would have got me kind of going again this season. I didn't think Aguero played 90 minutes. I didn't think they'd win that game 6-1. I thought they'd win it quite comfortably. That was a real trouncing. So yeah, I got really burnt by that. And I think that's going to teach me a lesson going forward in the season. I think, captaincy is something which you shouldn't really mess around with too much. If Salah and Aguero have difficult games, then maybe you can take a risk on someone. But in this situation, I should have played it safe with Aguero with the better fixture, particularly after he got rested in the week. Last year, I remember a pretty much identical situation happening where I think Kane had Everton, really good game. Salah had City, and everyone was putting goals in that, and I ended up going for Lingard captain, which was not one of my better moves. Got 2 points, and Kane and Salah both got double digits. So it's very reminiscent of that. I tried to take a risk, and it massively backfired. And if I'm thinking about some of my worst decisions in FPL, a lot of them do come down to poor captaincy options, and it's something that I really do need to address because it's important to get your captain right. So yeah, I need to think a bit more carefully going forward. I need to factor in the risk of not captaining someone like Aguero a bit more than I perhaps did this week. It's a very tough season this year, I think, for many reasons. I think we're finally seeing, kind of years of build up to this with social media and more information being out there. I think more and more people are taking advantage of that now. The number of FPL accounts that I'm seeing on Twitter is absolutely massively increased. And, I'm sat at the 200,000 mark, and I'm looking up at some big FPL names. Mark has made a real resurgence, and even Jonty and Andy and David Mundy, all people doing well. And then I look below me, and actually there's names there which I wouldn't expect to be so low down. You've got Trigger Lips. Jay only recently has overtaken me in the rankings. Davidoff, like one in the Hall of Fame, FF Scout, not having a good season, and the General as well, people like that. So, I mean, people are struggling. And I think it's largely because the template is so strong this season. And I've been reluctant to break away from it, which is something that I don't normally do. I normally have at least a few players different from the template, but with Robertson and Mendy and Alonso all offering, so many points in defence, and then Richarlison playing up front, Maddison with his fixtures, having Salah looks pretty essential for that Cardiff game at least, although you can make a case for Mane now. And then up front with Mitrovic and Aguero, it's all been quite hard to think of ways to break. But I mean, I wrote a list just before I did this, I mean, these are players who I don't see in that many teams around me. But, like Lacazette, Martial, Sterling, Mahrez, he was the informed player before this game. David Silva, Aubameyang, Mane, Sigurdsson, Jimenez was sold by a lot of people, and now he's starting to come back. Barkley being bought by quite a lot of people. We're still not seeing him in many teams. You've got Philippe Anderson now, West Ham, looking like a really strong option. You've got Brooks, 5.1, out of position. Looks like he's playing up front. Pereira, playing for Leicester, out of position sometimes. Morata now making a resurgence. I think there are definitely potential ways of climbing up the ranks if you get in some of these players at the right time and take out the ones that aren't performing. But it's hard because a lot of the players in the template have either got good fixtures or they're on form. So when is the right time to do it and make a move for some of these? And I'm finding that when I do take a risk, then I'm starting to get burnt. But there's going to come a point when my rank of 200k isn't good enough. And if I'm not making enough gains by following the template, then I'm really going to need to shake things up and have a look elsewhere of my team, because things just aren't working too well at the moment.
So it's all very good looking back at what's gone wrong and everything. I think the important thing to do is to come up with a kind of plan going forward to try and address the slump and work out what to do. And I'm looking at my team, and I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with it. What I don't like is my lack of Sterling, though, and I think that definitely needs to be addressed. And I think luckily we're in a position where we can kind of hold off this week. They've got Man United next weekend. We don't really know what's going to happen in that game. It could be a pasting. It could be really cagey. We're just not sure. Man United could surprise us all. And then after that, Man City have got West Ham. So again, that's the kind of game that I want Sterling for. And I think there is an element of patience that you need to have with City midfielders. And I think paying 11 million for a midfielder who's benched against a team like Burnley is always going to hurt. But I think that's just something that you need to take on the chin. And I think Sterling realistically is a season keeper this year. He's playing more advanced than Aguero at times. He was the second top scoring player in the game last year, and he looks set to better that this year. So he's definitely going to be coming into my team this year. This season in the next few weeks. So that's one of my plans is to I'm putting this out there. I'm going to get Sterling in. I'm going to keep him. I'm going to keep him until he gets injured, or until something really amazing happens, like he completely loses all his form. Because I think there are a kind of a core bunch of players this season which are looking like the real deal, and I think you've got in defence, you've got Alonso and Mendy. I think there are actually options in the Liverpool defence other than Robertson. Now we saw that Robertson got benched a few weeks ago. I think maybe Joe Gomez could be someone who I look to downgrade Robertson to. I like Gomez because he can play in two positions, which is always helpful. If you go for Alexander-Arnold, you're kind of limited to him. He's either going to be playing that right back or not. Whereas you wouldn't be surprised to see Gomez at centre back or at right back. So I think he's the logical downgrade for Robertson, which could then inspire the rest of your team. I think Hazard, although I do regret not selling him a few weeks ago, I think going forward he kind of still is the main man of Chelsea, and you can consider Morata, but I can't see him matching Hazard's points, and I think Hazard is going to keep going from strength to strength this season. But I think other than Alonso, Mendy, Hazard, and I think Sterling is now in that bracket, I think you've got options to play with the other members of your team. So Salah, even Aguero, might not be as essential as they might have been, a few weeks ago or last season. So that's the core group that I want to get into my team, and I want to keep them. I'm really happy with Richarlison playing up front. I know his returns weren't that great going up to this game, but it's always great having a midfielder playing up front. And I think Brooks at 5.1 looks a steal if he gets a run in the team up front as well. So it's looking like Maddison's going to be the one who's going to be leaving from my team. And also I think, Mane looks like he could match Salah this year. So that's something which is much more of a 50-50 call. But I think, getting in Mane and saving almost 3 million is too good to kind of ignore, really. So that's my plan going forward. I'm going to kind of pick my core players who I believe to be Alonso, Mendy, Hazard and Sterling. I'm going to build my team around those. I'm very happy with Arnautovic as well, but I'm keeping my eye on that knee injury of his. So that's my plan: core group of players, and then get in a couple of risks around that, and hopefully begin my ascent back up the rankings. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. It's been nice to record one of these again. I'll try not to leave it so long until next time. I'm going to try and do one of these every week just to reflect back on the previous game week and look forward to the future. Hopefully my ranks are going to start improving. It's the international break next week, so that's going to be a bit of a pain, but I'm looking at going into that with 2 transfers. I think my team's in decent shape for this week anyway, especially as City play United. I don't think we all need to make a massive rush for Sterling yet, even though his price is going to increase quite a lot. So yeah, thanks a lot. I'll be on the Scoutcast tomorrow or tonight, whenever you're listening to this. And it's been really good to think back and to try and learn from my mistakes. I feel like it's helped in some way. So cheers.